So first of all, thanks IATA for giving us this opportunity to talk about Digi Yatra. And yeah, can we have attention, please? Yeah. So to talk about Digi Yatra, what it does, and also to break some misconceptions and myths about Digi Yatra which people have. Okay, a lot of good discussion around data, the need for sharing of the data, which is definitely required, and that's one thing which aviation industry has standardized to large extent, but still data sharing is still a big problem among various stakeholders. However, in Digi Yatra, we don't need any data. We don't store any data. There is no central storage, unlike any other technologies or solutions which are out there in the market. So Digi Yatra is a wallet, is a decentralized wallet, to say the least. This is the hidden part of Digi Yatra which not many of us know about it. So I want to take you through that journey of Digi Yatra, so there are some numbers over there. Any guesses what this could be? Okay, so this is a personal experience. During the rollout days of the Digi Yatra, I was on the airport side, rolling out or onboarding passengers onto the Digi Yatra application, and in sometime in August 2022 when it was soft launched, and we were taking feedback from the passengers about the app. So this is a 60-plus-year-old passenger who was at the airport, and walked up to me and said, "Can I register into this app? I want to see how it works and experience what it is all about." Now, this was the last persona which we had thought about, that they will use the application to register on their own and experience the seamless journey. So when he was onboarded onto the application, and when I told him that now you just walk through the gate because you have shared everything with the airport, and your journey will be seamless. Your face and your boarding pass scan will work. So he was really amazed. He said, "Really, will that happen? Will the gate open if my face is scanned?" I told him, "Yes, that will happen." And that was the wow when he crossed the gate. And that the smile on his face, that without carrying any documents, anything, I'm able to walk through all the touch points of the airport. That's amazing. In Hindi, he said actually, "Kamal ho gaya, maza aa gaya." It's magical. I loved it. So this is one such passenger. Will it work? The video? Have you? Yeah, I'm trying to. Yeah. Audio kidhar hai? So he's a retired IPS officer, Indian Police Services. Does it have? Let's go. It's not volume. Increase the volume. It should be at the max.
I am J.K. Khanna, retired IPS officer.
No. Okay, so leaving aside, so he's talking about the way he has been there from the day one when the app was launched, and he's 60 plus, he's retired, and he has been extremely happy with the service, like the way he could seamlessly walk through the airport, all the touch points seamlessly. And there are many such. Abhi ho gaya. I don't need it. There was only one video. There's one more video, but we'll just. This is 4.5 million users. We have 19 million times the app has been used at the airport, and this has happened in 15 months since the time of launch in December 2022. Now, I'm not able to tell you how many times each user has used because we don't store any data. There is no passenger tracking happening here. That's why we are using the word 19 million times it has been used at the airport. We don't know if any of the passenger personally identifiable information is not there at all. Okay, so this is our ecosystem. You all will relate to it. I'll spend some time talking about it, and because the challenges which were there in the ecosystem, which we had to overcome to provide the solution. So, can I just walk around also? Is the voice clear to everyone?
Use this,
So, so that's the passenger in a silo where he books the tickets with the airline. The airline operator is in function here and does the optional check-in, optional boarding pass generation process, and arrives at the airport. Does anyone in the airport or airline knows that he has arrived at the airport? No, that's not known to anyone when he arrives at the airport. When he reaches the entry gate, these are the stakeholders which are involved in each step. Security agencies are involved. In India, entry is gated, so security agencies play a role here. What does he need to enter? Identity proof and travel proof, which is a ticket. These two things are needed. Again, the CUS check-in is optional. There is no need for a boarding pass, which is mandatory, although it's not mandatory. Shows the ID manually to the CISF or the security personnel over there. Shows the boarding pass or the ticket manually, or at some airports it is automated with the DCS. It directly does a call to the DCS and checks whether a ticket is valid for the day or not. Not at all the airports. And we are talking about non-Digi Yatra journey right now. Does airport know? It's a light green color over there. Yes, airport might know, might not know that this PNR has arrived at the airport through the scan at the e-gate if it's there, if it's automated. If it's manual, airport will not know passenger has arrived at the airport. Airline will know? No. At the entry gate, there is no CUS, or any of the common use technologies available today. So airlines will also not know that the passenger has arrived at the airport. Moves on to the check-in and the backdrop area. Again, the same thing. So partially automated. ID check is optional. It is manual. Again, a pre-SHA, same manual or automated, depending upon an airline implementation, airport implementation. There might be e-gates, which are talking directly to the DCS. Again, a non-CUS CUPS environment, wherein there is no intervention of airline. So again, airline will not know whether a passenger has crossed the SHA or not. At the boarding gate, that's the only area where it is 100% automated, because it talks to the airline DCS directly, and airline fully knows that whether passenger has crossed the boarding gate or not. So why we are highlighting this? Because these are all the data gaps which are there in the system. Airports and airlines and every other stakeholder are trying to do the same thing to carry the passenger from entry till the boarding gate. However, the seamless data sharing is not happening. In this environment, how do we automate this whole journey of the passenger? And these are all manual. Wherever we see, we are error prone. No matter how much you put the human there, he will not be able to authenticate whether that ID which you are showing him is a valid ID or not a valid ID, right? It's not possible for human to, unless or until it is getting linked to the original backend system. IDs can be faked, the photocopies can be faked. Same is true for the manual boarding pass. No matter how much you try, the boarding pass can be generated with the PDF. You edit few things here and there, and if it's manual, nobody will be able to identify whether it's allowed or not. So wherever those red things are there are chances of risk, chances of wrong entries into the airport. So that was one intention, that like, how do we automate this whole journey? How do we seamlessly take the passenger? There were chunks of some automation happening wherein the DCS integration was happening at some airports, other airports it's not happening because of, again, the common use systems which are being used. Again, the DCSs are multiple. So some have implemented, some have not implemented, some legal complications and other things. So in this environment, how do we do it? So that was the question which we started off with. And the first one was so now this is the overall architecture. So what I want to do here is, maybe I'll try to register myself on the Digi Yatra app and explain this complex looking data flow architecture, whatever is happening here. So if you would have also installed the app and registered yourself, you will know how it works. So I said it is a wallet. It is a decentralized wallet wherein nothing is stored centrally. So user logs into the phone, enters the phone number. This is my phone number, and I click on register. I get an OTP on my phone. It validates that yes, this is my phone because I am getting an OTP. OTP is entered and the app is enabled. Now this app as of now is useless. You can't do anything with this app just by entering the phone number into the app. So what we have done is Digi Yatra is talking to the central ID providers. In this case, as of now it is only UIDI Aadhaar. We are talking to the Aadhaar. We are a sub AUA wherein we are authorized to talk directly to the Aadhaar ecosystem to get the user details. Now when I say we, it is the user. So the request will be initiated from the phone to the UIDI. You will get the details on the phone from the UIDI. So that is what we will do now. So this is the process which is issuing the identity credential or the VC, or we are creating, we are validating the ID of the passenger from the original ID. So that is what is the decentralized wallet part of the app. So I click on Aadhaar. Okay, we'll see in the next slides there is a proper consent which is meeting the DPDPA guidelines or the GDPR guidelines, clearly defining who is the consumer here. What is the data we will collect? We will only collect name, date of birth, gender, mass, Aadhaar, and the facial image from the central system. It clearly says what is the purpose of this. Why am I collecting this data from you? I'm only collecting this data to create a VC, verified credential of yours. VC is nothing but putting a stamp on the original ID that yes, I validated this ID, that this ID belongs to you. Duration, how long will it be kept? So it is clearly defined. And where will it be kept? It will always be kept in user's phone till you delete it yourself. There is no more reaching out to the central nodal agencies or all other agencies to say delete my data from your system. You delete it from here, it's gone.
If you reinstall the app, does it go?
It will go. So that is what we call as a delete. Will come to that. So give the consent, agree. Now it is now talking to the ID provider. So we have already established that connection. Now the user phone will directly talk to the ID provider. You will give your ID number yourself here. Click on submit. And authentication will happen again from the ID provider via the OTP. Yeah. And it will fetch my details from the central system and show it to me, yeah, these are your details or not. I think internet is slightly slow here.
No coverage.
Yeah. So it has fetched my details, which I can see myself and validate, yeah, this is me and these are my details. And when I click on proceed, that is when it asks me to click my selfie, just to establish again that it's me who is trying to do this transaction. And when I click on proceed, the original ID and this selfie will go to the Digi Yatra server, wherein a facial algorithm software is installed, which will match these two. On a successful match of my face, which is the selfie and the image which has come from the original ID provider, it will go to the blockchain. Whereas in the central ecosystem, there is a blockchain part as well. And in the blockchain, it will create a hash that, yeah, this ID I had validated earlier. I have validated this ID. Yes, it is, the face is matching. These are the 4 or 5 details which will come with the ID. Your, it's not very visible. It's visible on that one. The full name, the date of birth, gender, the what's the verification ID? It is Aadhaar in this case. There can be many more in future. Verification number, which is the masked Aadhaar, which comes from the UIDA system. And when I click on proceed, it will save it into my wallet. So when I click here, you will see this, that it is saved. And it says verified. Now this verified is a stamp which stays forever. Because this verification process is like that gazetted officer who used to stamp your Xerox copy earlier in olden days. So Digi Yatra is the gazetted officer here who has verified that, yeah, this image belongs to you. This is your image. And it is stored in your wallet. And when you click on it, you can see other details also, what is stored in the phone. The moment this process completes, this facial match happens, all the data from the backend server, obviously that image in the real time was sent to the server, Digi Yatra server, is purged. Nothing remains in the Digi Yatra server. Now you have this image, you have saved it, it is digitally signed, now what do I do with it? How do I use it? That's the next question which comes to the mind, right? Now to use, so this is the issuer part. So this is the issuer in the terminology of DID or decentralized IDs. The other part is the verifier. Now I need people who can accept this ID from the phone. We have onboarded airports as verifiers. Not every airport is onboarded onto this platform yet. There are only 14 airports in India which are currently active. By month end, maybe 14 more will be added, so 28. And onboarding is a process wherein we exchange the APIs. We call these airports are called verifier airports. They once it is onboarded, the credentials are shared between the airports. They know the format in which the data will come to them, and from the user phone, the onboarding process is complete. And typically, it takes not more than a day to onboard for us to onboard an airport. It's a different story. Airports will have to deploy a lot of infrastructure for this to be working. They'll have to deploy e-gate, they'll have to deploy their own facial biometric software, they'll have to deploy their own integration with the airline, the toughest part, the integration with the airline. So some places it is there, some airports it's not there, they have to do it afresh. Now once these airports are onboarded onto the platform, how does user still use it? You need a travel document. Now there is no integration in place for Digi Yatra today with airline. However, every passenger who has to travel carries a boarding pass, right? So that is where we relied heavily on the M1 string. What we realized, what is needed? Nothing more than M1 string. You don't need anything else, or whatever information is required to make you travel through those 3 touch points. There is that humble looking M1 string over there which gives all the information. So and that is stored in the QR code or the barcode of the boarding pass. So it's mandated in Digi Yatra app that you need to have a boarding pass. You can't do it with an e-ticket. So we have a check in the app. So user generates a boarding pass from the airline website, scans it. So I have a dummy boarding pass ready in my app. Why I'm saying dummy and why will I be able to link dummy and why will I be able to share dummy boarding pass with the airport? Because I don't have DCS connectivity. If I would have had DCS connectivity, I can check those things also. So today it's a dummy boarding pass. Again now, so the consent is here as well. Why are you going to link your boarding pass? What will you do with it? What data will be shared with an airport, origin airport only. So every airport, so there is a check, the data will only go to the origin airport. Data will not be shared with all the airports. So the purpose is defined, again the consent mechanism as per the DPDPA guidelines or GDPR. Agree. So you can upload your boarding pass with 3 means. Either scan the QR code or the barcode on the boarding pass, upload the image or the PDF. The app handles all 3 mechanisms. So I'll use an image part because I have it in my gallery. So yeah. So now what is happening at this step? Okay, so there was a check and it's a domestic, it's an international boarding pass. I was just testing something yesterday for you. So now, so what happens? So when you scan the boarding pass, it is checking for the basic checks on the boarding pass. It's a boarding pass, it's not an e-ticket. It is checking it for the current, it is for the future date. It is not for the past dates and all. Because all that information is available in the M1 string. It is matching the name of the user from the M1 string with the name which was there on the ID and which is stored in the BC. So you can only store if the name matches. So name matching algorithm is there in place. Then it tests for, it belongs to the one of the 14 verifier airports. If it is for any other 15th airport, it will be rejected. And then obviously domestic check is there, so we check whether it's only for the domestic routes, and that's exactly what happened right now. When I was trying to upload it, did not go through. So once the user clicks on that, the boarding pass is linked into the phone. It goes to the origin airport, which is a verifier. At that point in time, origin airport sends again a request to the Digi Yatra ecosystem, asking This VC is coming to me. Shall I store it or not? Will you approve? This was approved by you earlier. So that is when Digi Yatra checks, matches the hash values which were created earlier with the data which comes from the blockchain. And if these hash values are matching with each other, yes, there was no tampering, and we know that yes, this was generated by Digi Yatra and signed by Digi Yatra earlier. We send a response back to the airport saying yes, you can safely consume this data. And that is when the data gets stored in the biometric gallery of the airport and will be used when you travel through the airport through various checkpoints. And that is the next slide, the most complex one. So that's, take the mic to that. And that is where the complexity starts, and that's where airports had a tough time, because prior to be with Digi Yatra, I was part of the airport only, so I understand the challenges there itself, there as well. Why it was difficult for the airport to make it available for all the airlines, all the passengers in one go, because you have to integrate with multiple DCSs, because Digi Yatra app was not checking whether the boarding pass is valid or not for that flight, but airport has to. That's there. That's there in, because if a passenger is entering the airport, the DCS check has to happen. Different airports have implemented different ways and means. Some download the PNL from airline, some do a real-time hit. So there is no standardization in the approach over there. This image which came from, and this M1 string which came from the Digi Yatra app, airport stores the image in the gallery, and also the M1 string is stored in, along with the image, it is stored in the gallery. Now that is airport's infrastructure. Airport deploys their own biometric engines. They have deployed their own integrations with the airlines for a passenger journey. You arrive at the entry gate, you scan your boarding pass, and then you scan your face. When you scan your boarding pass, and it will be checked with the DCS for the validity, then the face and both the things are true, the gate will open, otherwise it will not open. And all these combinations are happening real time. Once at every touch point. So depending upon a touch point, there will be more checks. Like at SHA, it is mandatory that you need to have a web check-in done. Even at the entry also with Digi Yatra, it is mandatory. Okay, so there was a quick video here as well, but we don't need any audio in it. So that's the process. Some airports have moved to, at the entry gate, 1:1 check, wherein there is no need to scan the boarding pass also, because the face is already mapped with the M1 string, and both the validations can happen only with the face. Some airports still want to keep it more secure and wants to have 1:1 check, and they are mandating both boarding pass and the face. So don't blame them. They want to be more secure, that's why they're doing it. Passengers don't love it, I know, because some of the passengers keep sending those emails as well, that why not all airports go to that mode. So yeah, so for sometimes for security, these are needed. Okay, so these were some slides, but I took it through the app itself, so we don't need them. So again, in the bigger view, if those were not visible. Yeah, so that's the consent part, which is there in the app. So all those selfie checks, and then the validation, and once everything is done, you can save it as a VC. Now, we have recently introduced minors VCs as well. Earlier, minors could not register onto the app because there was a regulation that minor can't give their consent. So there is one adult, if it's there, one adult VC is there in the phone, multiple minors can be linked. Today, we don't allow multiple adults to be linked into the same app. This is the boarding pass sharing part. Once the boarding pass is successfully shared, it also gets stored into the Digi Yatra app as that QR code which you see over there. And that QR code has now become a kind of a standard for people to show it to the airlines also. And some airlines, and I've seen they are smarter ones, they actually, after seeing the boarding pass, they click on this button which is over here, it opens up your wallet and they see that it's a verified image. So they know if it is coming from Digi Yatra, it's a verified image from the original ID. So that helps. Some airports where you have manual processes also, and I've seen that CISF themselves look into that ID. Instead of asking you to show the original ID, they say Digi Yatra ka ID, show me the Digi Yatra ID, and that works. Okay, so yeah, that's the big one. Now, as we speak today, we are going through a lot of social media social media bashing about facial data being stored, facial data being used, facial data being compromised. But contrary to whatever the narrative is there on the social media, there is no data which is centrally available. No data. And somebody asked me that if you uninstall the app, will it be there? And that's the proof of it. If you uninstall the app or delete the VC, there is an option in the app to delete the VC. The moment you delete the VC, uninstall the app or delete the app, everything is gone. You have to start the process again. You can't use the app. Deleting the VC will also delete your travel history because that's not needed. So app gets a complete reset if you do a delete action. Airport data. So yeah, so when you are arriving at the airport and you're sharing it with the airport, because it is only after boarding pass, you cannot do it prior to 48 hours. Some airlines, yes, I agree, can issue a boarding pass much earlier than 48 hours, but most of the airlines do it 48 hours prior. Even if you have the boarding pass, there is no necessity for you to share. You can come to the airport and then share with the airport if you're too much worried about your data privacy. It only takes few seconds for airport to receive it. There is no need or the mandate that the day boarding pass is generated, it has to be shared with the airport. No. However, our data tells that most of the people do share it within the 48 or 24-hour window, maximum. Digi Yatris prefer to do that. And what happens to the data which you shared with the airport? As per regulation, FSEC order also, it is to be deleted within 24 hours. So all your biometric data is wiped off from the systems through automated scripts by all the participating airports. And we can confidently say this because we have conducted audits ourselves at those airports to check the automation scripts are in place or not. There is a government body called Certain. So certain audits are done at all the airports regularly. Yeah, so again, it's totally optional. It's not mandatory. You can delete your VC and the app will be again of no use. Delete the BP. Boarding pass can be deleted. You can retain the VC, but then what will you use it for if you don't want to link your boarding pass with it? Uninstall or delete the app, your choice. Nothing ever was available on central servers. So there is no data with Digi Yatra. We don't know you. We don't know how many times anyone traveled through the airport. Contrary to the belief we started off with. So yeah, so these are the consents. I just put in there so that it's visible, loud and clear that consents are all in place. This is a recent change we had to do. Obviously, yes, a lot of inputs from MIT and other departments who are closely watching all this. So which helps us, keeps us on the toes and helps us keep improving these regulatory aspects also.
That disclaimer is for Digi Yatra, not for the airport.
So that disclaimer is for Digi Yatra because you're using Digi Yatra app to share with the airport. It says that it will be deleted from the airport also within 24 hours. That is our responsibility that they're doing it in terms of at least getting the audits done. We can't enforce it because the data has traveled to their system. But yeah, this is not for the airport. Now, like because you're sharing it with the airport and what are you sharing with the airport? You're sharing the boarding pass or the PNL data which is already there with the airport. And user is sharing on his own. There is no central body involved. I'm just giving a pipe to share the data, secure pipe. Okay, so coming back to the same slide which we saw earlier, just to reiterate the point, everything got automated. Wherever you see Digi Yatra, wherever manual were there, it's all automated. And obviously automated means more secure for sure, because everything is getting validated from the backend systems. Everything is getting validated with the airline system, because without that you can't deploy Digi Yatra. This is still an optional one. Cups and backdrops, we have not yet implemented it there because don't see a huge use case of putting a camera there. Uh, might be for other countries wherein the first touch point itself is check-in counters. In India, the first touch point is entry gate. If you have already validated a passenger while he was entering, doing it again at the check-in counter, airports were not finding it too much of value in it. This part was what data is with whom, and do I know what is happening and I'm using the app. So now with this, airport at least know how many people are coming, so they can plan their infrastructure for Digi Yatra or otherwise also. So they don't know who is coming, but they know these many people are coming. Airlines still don't know because there is no integration with the airline yet. We would love to have a direct PNR integration and direct central PNR, good conversations around PNR Gov and all. Let's see if we can utilize that as well. Because in our use case, we would not want to store the data. We would just want to do the validations and come back. Yes or no, zero knowledge proof. And say that, yeah, this is authorized to pass through this. Digi Yatra, obviously when you have done in the app, registration, shared the data with the airport, but I still don't know whether you arrived at the airport or not, because the app doesn't have any sort of location tracking or any sort of tracking. And when you scan the QR code or the barcode on the Digi Yatra e-gate, Digi Yatra doesn't come to know that you have done that action, because that is with the airport. Digi Yatra doesn't know it. So Digi Yatra, all are red. I don't know what you are doing after sharing the data. I only know that you shared the data with this origin airport. After that, it's not Digi Yatra's responsibility what you do. And Digi Yatra doesn't want to know also. So privacy by design was the core principle when we started off on this journey. ID is automated, boarding pass is automated. Now airport will also, now airport, at least when you enter airport, 100% knows that you have entered the airport. Airline still doesn't know, because airline system, there is no cups, CUWS or whatever at the entry gates yet. So airline is still in the red. They don't know whether Ujjwal entered the airport or not. They will only know when you actually go to the check-in counter, right? But if you don't have a backdrop, why will you go to the check-in counter? Airport will not know you have entered the airport. You have crossed the security. You must be somewhere before reaching the boarding gate. You are somewhere at the airport, but you have not arrived at the boarding gate on time. But airline will have no visibility with where are you, right? So still the gaps are there in the ecosystem. So again, these greens, airport knows, but again, the data sharing is not seamless. The intents are not there for whatever reasons. The contracts are not there, or the legal documents are not there. Various reasons for not sharing data, but we all still say that we want to make the journey seamless. I don't know how that will happen, but yeah. Learnings, M1 string, it was great. Without M1 string, we would not have done anything. Still, we see a lot of challenges with the M1 string. One of the biggest is, why do we need day of the year? Julian date. We still follow Julian date. And passengers can scan a boarding pass and link a boarding pass, because I make an assumption on the year that this is the current year. By around year end, people will be able to share future year's boarding passes as well. I can't disallow them. So I have rules in the app to handle that. However, why can't it change? Why can't it have year? It's time, it was done years back when we had this M1 string. Maybe this is for IATA to relook at with these automations happening. If we make this itself more powerful, half of the needs for various data sources which we were talking about will be gone. Okay, so this is the toughest one. Flight time. Nobody knows in the ecosystem other than the airline and airport. Boarding pass, it is printed on the boarding pass, but it is not there in the QR code. I get queries from passengers saying that it is printed on the boarding pass. Why are you not showing me in the app, Digi Yatra app? How do I explain? I can't, because it's not there in that humble M1 string. At least STD could have been there. Gate number, okay, related to STD only. It's not there. Ticket or BP, the M1s are same. We are doing M1 strings for tickets now, or that M1 strings in the barcodes, but there is no way to differentiate from the string whether it's a e-ticket or a boarding pass. The only way to identify the way we have done it is sequence number is 0. Because there is no other way. Can there be some other way that it can be identified it is an e-ticket and this is a boarding pass? Life will become much more easy for everyone in the ecosystem. Okay, so yeah, missing seat numbers and sequence numbers is another challenge. Even in the boarding passes, it is missing sometimes. There can be reasons, but it is missing at times. And passengers don't understand all that. So I'm telling you because for once, Digi Yatra came up with a solution which is consumer facing. And these are the challenges consumers don't understand, they demand. So they're demanding. They're saying it's there in my boarding pass, why are you not showing it on the app?
Siddharth, when you say ticket or boarding pass, you are basically asking a question, how will the system recognize
Yes.
the ticket or a boarding pass?
Yes. Today only way to do it is sequence number is 0.
But if you look at the domestic carriers, we generate a barcode on a ticket.
Yeah.
And you also get a barcode on your boarding pass.
Yes.
The tickets may not necessarily have the sequence and the seat numbers.
So that's what I'm saying. The only way to identify is that the missing sequence number.
Missing data.
The other thing which, no, so missing data is one. So good you brought this up. There is another challenge there. The M1 string in the e-ticket does not follow the standard IATA format many a times. So what happens is a sequence number where sequence number should be 0000, it becomes some number 000 because other flight number was missing. So flight numbers are missing from the e-tickets. So then it becomes a valid sequence number for me. For system, it is difficult to recognize. Yeah. So standardization is there much better than other industries. However, yeah, these are the gaps. Maybe a high time to look at and address these as well because these are low-hanging fruits is what I feel. I know you can change the M1 string, but how will GDSs, your PSSs, your DCSs will, AMADSs of the world will come back with heavy, okay, let's not get into commercials as it was told earlier. Standardized QR code. Why do we need barcode? World has moved to QR code. Why do we need barcode anymore? It's much easier to scan a QR code than a barcode.
What's the difference? For a layman, what's the difference between a barcode and a QR code?
So QR code can store more information. To put it simply, whatever we are talking about that can be there in that, can be handled in the QR code. And there are, barcode need those sophisticated readers. So whatever said or done, barcode is not easy to read by most of the readers on the phone and other low cost phones also, but QR code is. Thanks to UPI, which made us all so used to QR codes. Okay, so not very important, but yeah, these are some of the checks which I was talking about. We already have in the app, wherein upload a valid boarding pass, e-tickets won't be accepted. Now, this was the message on the app. And then why I'm bringing this up here is because when you are in a consumer-facing environment, every day there will be at least 10 emails which will, despite giving this message, passengers won't understand the difference between e-ticket and boarding pass. They'll say, I have a document, it has a barcode, it is not uploading. Please only upload boarding passes of future dates. So this is a simple one, but got broken because somebody uploaded a past boarding pass of January, and I took an assumption of it's January, so it should be 2025, and it got uploaded because there was only Julian no year in the M1 string. Please ensure name on boarding pass matches with the Aadhaar name. So yeah, so this is where we do the name check. Okay, so not very relevant for airlines, but yes, it is still relevant because what we have noticed is when there are three names with a middle name, in many M1 strings, airlines are not keeping the space as a delimiter. So if let's say my name would have been Siddharth Kumar Sharma will be combined together as one word and system will break. So that boarding pass was not getting linked. While to make our life more difficult, the printed name has a space. So, so passengers will write, it is shown as like this, why are you not linking it? It's your problem.
It's not, no, there's system limitations.
Yes.
And that's something, though, that you need to understand in a legacy system.
Yeah,
like ours.
correct.
We do not have spaces in our PNR names. They
Yeah.
do not exist.
No, I understand that. So that's the challenge we all are moving ahead with, but it's time we should, like when we are automating, we can't achieve 100% automation if we start addressing these challenges also. Otherwise, we should not talk about automation, 100% automation.
Well, I think what you're proposing sounds like you're trying to take over the boarding pass in your app.
No,
But
I'm
that's
not.
but that's what it sounds like when you say you're missing certain attributes that don't exist.
Yeah, because,
Because what would be the need for you to have those attributes unless you were going to take over the boarding
yeah,
pass?
good question. We don't want to take over the boarding pass. We will still be linking the boarding pass which is generated by the airline. However, if we are trying to automate the process of passenger facilitation through the touch points, these things will break. I will not be able to link it into the app. There will always be some passengers who will not be included into the system because of these gaps in the system. I don't want to generate the boarding pass. So Digi Yatra doesn't want to do any of the things which others are doing. We are just facilitating data sharing between various stakeholders, nothing more than that.
And the question says was how would your app work if you weren't connected to a carrier system or if a P&L wasn't shared with you?
So it is not shared with us today also, it is shared with the airport. So it is in the airport scope to validate the PNL and the boarding pass authenticity.
What if the airport doesn't have the ability to?
They will not be able to use it. Again, yeah, so adult, yeah, minor, domestic, yeah, so that's only for the domestic, it's not for the international.
What I'm trying to say is you're not taking over the boarding pass, but eventually the Digi Yatra layout is a boarding pass. Customers access all the way through till the gate using that.
Because
right?
that's what is required as a regulation, right?
And for me to have any information displayed on that screen, I need it to be inserted in the M1.
So I'm not saying that needed to be inserted in the M1 string. What I'm saying is that is the only string I have to do that.
Basically,
So where do you want to insert it? How do we do this? Is a question. What I'm saying is this is the easiest place to do it.
yeah, basically where I'm coming from, I had this discussion with you earlier. If I have to insert certain attributes that the customer utilizes at the airport,
Yeah.
how can that be?
No, it's not easy, as ma'am rightly pointed out.
Let's say a passenger wants to access a lounge invite.
It's not easy. It can be inserted, but it's not easy. I do understand the challenges on the airline airport side because I've worked through I worked for the airline, I worked for the airport, and then, yeah, so it is challenging because of what? These things in the red. In India, there are 3 common use providers. Airink for Delhi, Reza for Hyderabad, Sita for rest of the India. So monopoly is with Sita, however, yeah, there are 3 common use providers, it's not easy to integrate with anything new with them, whether we like it or not. So yeah, they have been there, they have done great, but other industries are moving with this smooth data sharing and APIs and all, maybe time to change, time to rethink few things. This is on the airport side. What's happening on the airline side? There are only 9 airlines in India, domestic airlines. There are 4 DCSs. Every DCS implementation for every other airline will be different. So this is the hard work which airport had to do to integrate with the direct DCS. So airport has done that. But it's not easy. How many airports will you do it? How many airlines will you do it? Unless or until it is standardized to the next level. It is standardized. It is standardized to great extent. But with the need for automation increasing, I think there is a need to go to the next level. So this we touched upon: flight data, seamless availability, gate data, because we are still not carrying the passenger seamlessly. We started taking OAG feed, we started showing STD on the app. There was one instance where the time of flight was not updated in the STD. It was 10 minutes late, and that passenger wrote a feedback at the airport, because of Digi Yatra, I missed my flight. We removed the time after that. And we went and checked. Airline websites also had the wrong time. It was not updated. Only airport knew it because this is a manual process. I'm not blaming anyone here because it's a manual process. The flight time is at the last minutes is still a manual process. There is someone sitting in the AOCC gets a feed from the airline, somebody updates it. Even at the time, at the boarding gate itself, you might not know what's the latest time because AODB is not updated. So all those challenges do exist.
Siddharth, what data is the airport operator sharing with you?
Nothing.
Not even the gate numbers?
No. We don't have two-way communication with the airports. User is only sharing the data with the airport. Whatever is there on the boarding pass and the ID, that's it. So that's what. So we are just facilitating sharing of this data by connecting pipes, nothing else. We are facing the heat because we are consumer facing. Consumer doesn't understand all these things. Direct DCS integration is our dream. It's not easy, but yeah, that can solve many problems. But everyone wants that because that's where actually the data resides. Airlines. That's after Digi Yatra. I think airlines are the next consumer-facing entity who faces all this. Common use, we checked. Even if we don't do DCS integration, if we can integrate in the web check-in flow, that itself will solve many problems. The moment the web check-in happens, the boarding pass gets shared with the Digi Yatra app. App-to-app communication, or we can do app-to-app communication. We can't do web-to-app because I don't know through PII or there is no unique ID of a passenger to send that to. That's the limitation of doing a privacy by design system. QR code. Yeah, finally. Okay, don't want to touch upon international flow. That has its own challenges. But yeah, one of the biggest challenge in implementing international flow is there is no boarding pass, in India at least. There is no boarding pass to enter the airport. You can only generate a boarding pass at the check-in counter for various regulations, for various reasons. Till the time that happens, Digi Yatra can't be used for international flow.
So why is it not checking?
I cannot answer that question. There were entities. That's what we also asked. But yeah, so maybe debate has started. So maybe in coming days things can change. Or the one way to do it is if we are talking about what we are talking about is putting a QR code or barcode on the e-ticket. That's more difficult than making a check-in happen. But
I would say what would be more difficult, what would be easier is instead of requiring the barcode on the ticket, let web check-in occur.
Yes.
And then everybody
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
by walking into the airport.
And that's more secure as well. Okay, stakeholders are not there. I can say that openly, but yeah. Again, so passport integration. So the way we have VC with Aadhaar, if a e-chip passport is there, the VC can be generated with passport as well. Because the face which is there in the chip can be matched with the face who is trying to do the transaction, and a VC can easily be created. It will still be not as secure as doing it directly through API with passport department. However, yes, it's not easy to get access to that. However, through this e-chip, we have already tested it. It's possible, it works. It's there in the POC stages. We can roll it out for international passengers, but again, we will have to take a back step because of the boarding pass not there. Or we can do, even if we standardize the M1 string on the e-ticket, we will be able to do entry only through AODB data, that by checking the flight number, whether you have a flight or not, we'll not be able to check the real PNR validity. Visa, let's not get into visa at all. This is the dream. Like, we all want to take passenger from entry to the boarding gate. To actually do it in a true sense, we want all that to be green. Otherwise, it's not possible. And however, still Digi Yatra will still want to maintain red. We don't need any data. We just want to facilitate it. But rest of the stakeholders, if you don't give them the data, how can that happen? It's not possible. Okay, so
Just a curious question. How different is Digi Yatra than Uber app? And
there is no relationship.
in the sense,
Rating column
in the sense, if I am the consumer
Yeah.
and the driver is the airline, Uber is facilitating my movement with the transaction.
But you are booking there. You are doing a transaction. You are not doing a transaction on Digi Yatra app. You have done the transaction on the airline website. You are just you've just got a channel to share the data with all the stakeholders in a secure manner. without getting worried about that something is getting stored centrally. That's again, there is nothing getting stored centrally.
Who's bearing the expense of the validation from UIDI server?
Digi Yatra Foundation.
Not airport?
No.
Why are you doing this generous?
No commercial questions, we were told. No, so it's not generous. There is a P&L which we have to manage. And the UIDI, we tried getting it waived off, but it did not happen. That is why we have the other option of DigiLocker there, which is free. But DigiLocker has more steps than direct Aadhaar. So obviously people use direct Aadhaar more than DigiLocker. Yeah, so these are some not to be asked questions in such. Yeah.
Because I have two questions, So you said, right now it's only validated against UIDI,
Yeah.
Aadhaar. In future, because many airline alliances, for example, Star Alliance has Star Alliance biometrics.
Yeah.
So this could be linked and this could be used as a validation process.
Definitely, if there is an ID provider who can give us the access in an automated manner, digital manner, this is possible.
But then let's say if you were to also link Star Alliance biometrics, then you could go live with Star Alliance carriers right away, wouldn't you? I mean, when you talk about international...
Hi, international, yes, but will it be accepted in India by the other agencies? Because UIDI Aadhaar is a valid ID document, might not be the case for other documents. There is a list of documents which they go by, so might not be so easy. But globally, yes.
Okay, you would still need to check the valid travel document.
Yes.
Because you're talking about Star Alliance will be of course Air India, but also international airlines.
Yeah.
However, you would be able to track the passenger during, from the point he or she enters the airport till the time he or she boards the aircraft.
Yes, but yeah. So Digi Yatra doesn't want to track. Airports can, airlines can. Yeah, they can.
For example, there is, I know for Lufthansa in Los Angeles, we are working with Vision Box.
Yeah.
And you don't need a physical boarding.
Correct.
Pass.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the case in Bangalore and Mumbai as well. Yeah. So today.
Can I ask one more follow-up question?
Yeah, please.
Another point where you say, that there is no space between the names. Why
Okay.
don't you just trim the spaces, and then
So how do I know where to trim? Like Siddharth Kumar Sharma.
space,
बाहर हो जाएगा, KU at
the first
So-
name and the other names are separated by a slash.
So we have tried all that. So slash is there so first name, last name, slash is there. The problem is when the middle name comes. And in India, most of the names will have middle names at least.
Space, you can still match it.
But we will not know where to remove the space.
But then the product also wouldn't work if you made the reservation only with your first and last and not your middle.
It will work.
It will work?
Yeah. It will
Dr.
work.
Victor Rodriguez Gonzalez Cervantes, it will work when he
It will
just has
work.
extra
I just have to link it. It will link with the app. I will have more confidence score coming into the algorithm when you have only two versus there were three in the original ID, but you're using only two. So just a case in example. Let's say my ID carries a name S. Sharma. And while my boarding pass carries my full name Siddharth Sharma, it will be failed. It will not match because my reference is only S. Now this S can be anything. Versus if my ID said Siddharth Sharma and my boarding pass said S. Sharma, I'll let it pass. Because my reference is more while the boarding pass is less. So these checks are there. So we have gone through a lot of iterations before putting these checks. Still it fails. So yeah. We will never have a 100% name matching algorithm ever. So yeah, there will always be edge scenarios. Okay, so that's the last video I want to play, and I would prefer to have a sound there if it's
And
possible.
it also swaps the names if you were to accidentally book your, make your booking with given name and first
Yeah,
name,
yeah,
swap,
yeah,
match.
yeah. That last name, first name is a typical thing with many airlines, so that is handled. Yeah, so I increase the volume. Let's see if it works. नहीं है.
Pull the microphone down.
Yeah.
one question. There are few names which have only one name. For example, my name is Manju Chaturvedi, so there won't be any Chaturvedi, it will be Manju only. So like
In
for
your
example,
Aadhaar? In
I'm saying in my Aadhaar it says LNU last name unavailable and then Manju. And if I book myself as Manju, it will not accept that.
if your Aadhaar has other names, it will not.
So same way for the international also.
Yeah. So once we introduce passport, many of these cases will be taken care of because passport generally has full names. No initials and all allowed and all in passport, right? So you,
LNU, last name unknown.
LNU is
LNU
very
is
much
printed on the passport.
so
last name unavailable.
then you,
That becomes a name.
yeah, that becomes a name. Yeah, if LNU is the name, LNU will become.
There's nothing. There's no nothing in the
Yeah, correct. But then that is something I think even the government has to validate.
Okay, so we can do away with the video again. So he's a user.
change the source of
Mic use
output. Something
रुको
is
ना,
coming.
इसमें होगा.
I don't think so. Probably need the source of the thing to be changed. Is coming.
Right, I'll just speak about it. So he forgot his wallet at home and he came to the airport. So he said he's trying to say that add Digi Yatra into your travel checklist because without wallet also he was able to go through all the touch points. Given old scenario, he would not have been able to because ID is needed, boarding pass is needed. Maybe boarding pass he can generate at the airport, but he won't be able to generate an ID from anywhere. So, yeah. So these are some of the users who love the app. There are a few of us here also with whom I was talking during the lunch break. So like I could not find someone who says that I don't like the app, but definitely there are people, everyone was not sure about what happens with the data and whether we are storing the data or not. So that was a good for this, you given me the opportunity to come at this forum and
One thing I do not like about the app, it gives me no reason to look at my boarding pass and I end up going to the wrong terminal.
Terminal won't be there in the app also. Yeah, terminal is not in the M1 string. हाँ कर दो. Yeah. Wait. बहुत slow है. Leave it.
When you leave
We
for the
are
airport,
done
what
actually.
are things that you double check before stepping out of the house?
Not very
wallets, keys. I think you should add Digi Yatra to that list.
Yeah. So that's about it. If there are any more queries, I can take. Otherwise, I'm done. Thank you.